Welcome to the Nate KG podcast. I'm your host, Nate KG, and this is a show dedicated to exploring the nuances of jump rope, where I talk with jumpers of all skill levels, backgrounds, and fitness goals. In today's episode, we're going to hear from Chito Ines. Chito is a PJRA Athlete Council Member, rush athlete, and all-around awesome dude. Chito and I connected online a while ago during the pandemic, and since then, we've become really great friends. We cover a lot of territory, including how Chito lost 40-plus pounds jumping, why basic skills have always been a staple throughout Chito's journey, how having fun is the unlock for staying consistent, the top tips that beginners should know, the skill that frustrated Chito the most, and loads more. All of the show notes for this episode can be found over at natekg.com. And if you're a returning listener, I'd really appreciate if you could leave a quick review for the show. It helps tremendously. All right, it's time to get started. Please enjoy this conversation with Chito Ines. Chito, what is going on? How are you doing?
Doing well. Excited for this one.
Yeah,
really,
I am
really
too.
excited.
I am too. This is gonna be a lot of fun. We've known each other for a good chunk of time now, so I think we're gonna have a really great time diving into all topics related to Chito's jump rope journey. Let's go ahead and start with where you are in the world and how you first started jumping.
I am in Manila, specifically Quezon City in the Philippines. How I got started into jumping, so I was in the middle of a weight loss journey, and I was doing running, but I found running a bit cumbersome, where I have to drive to this place where I could run, and the actual drive to the place took longer than my actual running time. So I'm like,
my gosh,
nah,
that's so annoying.
Yeah. So I was looking for alternatives, and one of my friends recommended for me to try jump rope. So she introduced me to Noel Agra, who PJRA president, and yeah, he got me started off on the basics, and it just took off from there.
When was this?
This was June 2019.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're still pretty fresh. I like it.
I think so.
You've grown a lot since then. Let's I kind of want to back up a little bit and spend a little bit of time on pre-jump rope stuff before we go all the way in on that.
All right.
So you're talking about a weight loss journey, and I know from our conversations before, you were a sprinter as well.
Yes.
So can we start with your sprinting career, and then we'll go from there as to how that turned into a weight loss journey?
That sprinter career was accidental. I actually am.
You were just accidentally amazing.
No, my primary sport was football or soccer. I started playing that since I was 6, all the way through college. And somewhere in the middle of that, the track coach for my high school saw me running, and he's like, "You're pretty fast. Can I time you against my sprinters?" I'm like, "Okay." And
accidentally amazing.
So he timed me against 4 of his sprinters. I beat 3 of them.
Wow, nice.
So I'm like, okay, I think I'm pretty fast. And yeah, that got me started in my track career.
And this was during high school?
Yeah, this was during high school. Once I hit university or college, I stopped. I just purely focused on football.
Okay. So you were only a sprinter in high school, and after that you moved on to other sports?
Yeah, it was about 2 years.
Okay. And then within those 2 years, I'm curious, did that set a foundation for the rest of your athletics?
Yes, it did. When I played football, I just ran. I didn't know there was a proper form, arms. I didn't know the arms help propel you. I just, everything you did was just, there was no technical side to it. And then once I found that out, I started incorporating that into my own movement as well.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. And then how did that, fast forward from sprinting to the weight loss journey, what kind of sparked your interest and your motivation to start attacking that process?
So once I started working, all exercise just went out the window, and I just gained and gained and gained. And I still, because you're used to, as an athlete, you're used to eating a certain way,
yes,
a certain
AKA
amount,
like
and
anything.
you're
working all the time.
Yes, and you just, I still ate like an athlete, but didn't train or exercise or anything and just balloon from there. And then I just, it was a random conversation with a friend in the car. He just said, at our age, I think we should start watching what we put on our bodies and, just start living healthy. And I'm like, this is the most unserious person in the world. So it's like, it was, it hit me hard because it's like the universe trying to tell me something that, why of all people am I hearing it from you? So I took that as a sign and just started out of impulse. That day I started eating healthy, cut my sugar, cut my carbs, and it just, went from 210 to about 210 pounds to about 165 in a year.
That's a very large difference in only 1 year. Wow. So do you feel like that process was primarily changing the food that you were consuming, or did you also layer exercise on top of that?
The first 20 pounds I lost was mostly just lifestyle and diet change. And then
Okay.
once I started feeling better, feeling lighter, I felt that I could exercise again. So that's when I started playing football again, started running, and that led me to jump rope.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. So you had quite the history before getting into jumping in the first place. Once you did start, you mentioned that Noel got you into it, and you were beginning with the basics. What kind of got you really excited, and what kept you staying into jump rope?
I found it very zen to be in between the ropes. It's just you just jumping, just not thinking about anything else, blocking everything out. Get some focus on just for a few minutes, an hour and a half, maybe. I was on basic bounds for 9 months. So
Okay. That's a good chunk of time. Yeah. When you were doing that, were you were just grabbing the rope and going, and you weren't looking at other stuff?
yeah,
Is that how that, yeah, gotcha.
I wasn't
hmm
looking. I just had music on. I think I did challenge myself how long I could go unbroken. Just doing stuff like that, but not doing anything totally crazy like what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah, yeah, yes, I know. And for those who are curious, Chito and I talk about doing a triple under switch cross a lot, and that seems to be one of your favorite skills to be working
It's
towards.
gonna be one of my bucket list
So
tricks to
in a
do.
few years, you've gone from most singles unbroken without missing to trying to hit a triple under switch cross, which is actually that makes a lot of sense, especially given the amount of power you have from your sprinting days. So you're doing singles for 9 months, and you're
Yeah.
jamming out to music, and it's fun. Before we move on to the part where you discover freestyle, because I know you obviously have, in those 9 months of singles, did you find it challenging to stay consistent at all?
Yes. Yes. I told myself when I started, I'll try to do it at least twice a week. That went to 3, 4, eventually 5 times a week, jumping. And then I got to a certain point where I jumped every day for I think 3 or 4 months.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good chunk of time. Nice.
Yeah, but staying consistent is really, at least at the time, because that was pre-pandemic. That was very schedule dependent because I did a lot of stuff as well in the background. So sometimes even if I wanted to, my schedule wouldn't allow it, or um, I was too tired literally from traveling and all that.
So how do you feel I mean, I feel like this is like the main issue, right? Of just exercise once you become a real adult and you're not in high school or university, How do you look at scheduling and fitting in your exercise? Both, and you can do this any way you want. It can be how you viewed it then, it can be how you viewed it now, or anywhere in between.
Then I did it when I could. Right now, you have to really want to do it. Yeah, we probably don't need to highlight the benefits of jump rope, but you got hooked into this for a reason, and being lazy is not an excuse to stop doing it. Because
So you were before you would kind of wait until you felt like you could see an open chunk of time, and you're like, oh, what should I fill that with? I'll jump rope.
yeah,
Is that correct? And then so now do you look at do you plan it out? Do you look at your schedule and say this is where I'm going to make the time, or because I think that this is a really, the reason why I'm kind of sticking on here for a second is because this is like a very common and important piece. And like what you're talking about is, I mean, you don't strike me as a lazy person. You don't strike me as someone who's had a significant amount of lazy. I mean, you were a sprinter, you were an athlete, you obviously have that drive in you. So it seems like the issue is potentially even less about laziness and more just trying to find that balance, you know? And it's very challenging, especially when you're trying to do multiple things at once, aka find the balance, but then also learn a new skill and a new thing, you know?
Nowadays, it's really, you just have to really want to do it. I think I've stopped trying to learn or unlocking something new, but I still just work on what I know and try to be a lot, a lot more efficient, a lot sharper with at least the movements that I've already mastered. But in terms of actually working out, I don't go out there and just bust out whatever I feel like. There has to be some structure. So I still do just basic intervals, just with a heavy rope, just to get the workout portion done. And then if I can still afford it, if I don't have anything else to do, or I have some spare time, then I'll probably try to do a combo and film something for Instagram or something. And yeah, I still have to need to have that certain workout structure before, work before play, basically.
Yeah. And has that always been the case, or was it different? You would just do something different before?
No, it's always been that way in terms of jump rope, because I did the jump rope dudes have these programs out. So I just, they have a basic structure. It's good for about 30 minutes, and it doesn't involve really far out skills or tricks. It's just really honest to goodness jump rope.
Getting out there, yeah, doing the thing, as they say.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
cool guys. I've had them on the podcast, and let's kind of, because you have worked through a lot of different styles of jumping. You have obviously stayed in it for a while, and you have stayed consistent as a jumper, even though I'm sure sometimes it's less jumping. But you go through this 9 months of singles. It sounds like you're doing the jump rope dudes programming. You're sticking to primarily single unders. Roughly at about that 9-month mark, what changes, and how do you evolve your jumping style?
During that time, I think I've only met Noel in person once or twice, and then just again, due to our own schedules pre-pandemic, everything was busy, so I just communicate through him through messaging and something. And then I think it was about that 8-month mark where I actually met him again, and he's like, he showed me other stuff. I'm like, that I could have learned these in person a lot quicker. But
Yeah.
And he showed me that different variations of integrating swings, handwork, and footwork, double unders, and yeah, it just like triggered my imagination. Yeah, I've been doing it. I felt like I've been doing it wrong not exactly wrong, but there could have probably been a lot more that I've done in that 9 months. But then again, at the time, it wasn't, at least information for me in terms of jump rope wasn't as, or it isn't as far, widespread as it is now, where I think I only had 3 people I talked to about jump rope.
And this was pre-pandemic. So you're talking late 2019, I'm assuming. And there was it was a much different landscape even just a few years ago, for sure. That makes sense.
Yes.
So once you saw those freestyle skills, you were like, oh, there's a lot more here.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, that looks interesting, or that looks cool.
Did that boost your interest? Did you feel like some skills weren't attainable? Was there like an up and down? Because I would imagine when you see all that, I would think there might be a lot of different thoughts going on. Maybe there wasn't.
It was overwhelming, like, to see that, okay, there's a double under, and then there's variations of double unders. I'm like, what? and then I saw people doing different kinds of footwork. I mean, I've seen footwork being done, but not in a fast pace, and with integrated hand movements. I'm like, hey, this looks fun. Once your imagination gets triggered, it's hard to stop it because you're gonna attempt to, push yourself to see how far you can go. And nowadays, it's like if it hits you, it's like, I think I can do that. So you're gonna try it yourself, and then it just spreads like fire.
Yeah.
Budol, as we call it.
What was that?
Budol. It's like
Oh.
coercion. It's coercion, basically. That's the term.
Nice. I love it. So then once you got into the freestyle, do you feel like, at least for some period of time, consistency got easier, or was it still a challenge?
It was harder because, of course,
harder.
Yeah, it was harder because you'd want to try. Really, the structured workout is basic bounce. But do I want to do basic bounce, or do I want to try to unlock this cool move? But once I got past that, just going back to the basics is always for me at least. It's the basics are the foundation of everything. So,
but for a period of time, it sounds like you got a little bit obsessed trying out new skills.
yes, I did.
Yeah. I think that's a very, very fun, very common. I think that's a very common thing too. Like now that you're here and you can kind of look back on, the journey of your jumping so far, is there anything that you would have wanted to tell your beginner self?
Yeah, try new stuff. At least in that first 9 months.
Yeah.
Try moving your feet.
Try moving your feet. There it is.
Somebody asked me before in a different interview, what was the skill that I felt that when I unlocked it, I felt like I was already good. And the answer is always the front and side bills, or the skiers, because I was going off center and I was like, hey.
You're like, now this is some real technical jumping. I don't know if anyone else has seen me do this, but this is kind of the top.
Yeah, but
awesome.
I'm shallow in that sense that everything that came afterwards is just really gravy, and just everything just added a lot more flavor. But some people nowadays say once they unlock doubles or whatever, a TJ or something, and for me it's really that small jump from basic to getting out of basic was more than enough for me at the time.
No, I mean that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense because there's a lot of power in doing that, especially as you're jumping recreationally, you're jumping for fitness reasons. Although maybe one day we'll get you into the competitive scene, but for now, recreation and fitness. And so but there's a lot of use in that. There's a lot that you can do. Like you did 9 months of singles, right? Basic single unders. And like that, I think is, it's interesting to hear that process, because I see this a lot too with jumpers who are new to like the world of all the different freestyle skills. And like you said, it's very overwhelming and it's amazing. And part of it is so exciting because there's always something to try. And then part of it is like, when you don't know the full scope of what exists, that first skill, that bell that you do, that modified, footwork really does feel like the pinnacle of jump rope, right? Like and for good reason, because when you haven't yet learned the full scope of things, it feels very awesome and very empowering.
You're used to doing a basic bounce and you're centered, and now you're going off axis on where you're standing, and it's like, this feels nice.
This feels nice. That's awesome. Yeah, no, it totally does. And from there, you not only did footwork skills, but then you moved on to a lot of technical stuff as well, and you ended up being very, very involved with the PJRA.
Yes.
So how did that come about? You're jumping for 9 months, you're getting fit, things are going well, you're doing a little freestyle, and you go into the PJRA. How does that come about?
That was crazy. I've been active in the community, and I know the people in the PJRA, Noel, IJ, Erwin, all these guys. I've already met at one point or another, and I think that this was probably say early January this year. Yeah, I think it was early January.
January
Noel,
this year or 2020?
2020. Sorry, this year, 2021.
Okay.
Noel asks me to come on board as a member of the Athlete Council of the PJRA, and I'm like,
gotcha.
Are you kidding? Yes, of course. It's a
Yeah.
yes. I mean, yeah. It's obviously it's different than from what I'm used to doing, but to be asked to have to share a larger responsibility for jump rope in the country is quite an honor. And basically, spreading the love, developing and growing the sport here, jump rope here as a sport, and trying to get into the grassroots level is the main goal. We're not as developed in terms of as a country in terms of a jump rope organization as, let's say, the US, or I think it's Malaysia or Singapore or something, like, or Japan. But long term, that's what we want to achieve.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are your thoughts on, and if there isn't a full answer to this, I totally understand, but are there any thoughts from you and or from PJRA about leagues or competition or doing that?
We're planning something locally.
Nice. Okay.
Not Of course, given the whole global situation, we can't do something in person yet, so we're
Mhm.
trying to emulate something like what the RJRU did, where it's
Mhm.
virtual competition.
Mhm. What are your thoughts on virtual competitions?
It's going to be hard to
Yeah.
judge because I just saw the IJRU post that they just finished judging about
Yeah.
3,000 entries, so I'm like, okay, this is going to be us. It's going to be
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the most simple process. That's for sure. There's a lot that goes into that.
it's going to be shared responsibility anyway, but we're going to be up to the task because we want to do it. We wanna get there. So if it's just gonna be part of the process, these growing pains of looking through judging feed step or a freestyle routine, so be it. But yeah, it should be fun. Looking forward to it. We're
Are you,
just
are you
finalizing
planning on
some.
doing any competing yourself?
I can't because we
Oh,
said
that's
that
right. Yeah, yeah,
we,
yeah.
we
Okay.
said that we can't take part. And because Anne is also part of the athlete council, she
Hmm.
can't compete in freestyle because she competed in the IJRU, but she could compete
Gotcha.
in the other events,
Gotcha. Okay.
just to
That makes
give
sense. Keeping it
everybody
fair.
else a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. Cool. Well, you really have gone very far from just a couple of single bounces here or there, and then all the way up to PJRA and all this different freestyling. And you have um, a good repertoire of styles as well. I know that you can, obviously you did single bounce, but you can flow between you can get very technical. You can stick to very casual jumping. You've got a nice street style. You've got boxer style. You've got all these different ways of approaching your jumping. What has led to that? How did you keep evolving? Was it just natural? Like, this is fun, I want to keep going? Did you specifically have a goal to be very technically proficient? What has kind of been your thought process as you've learned more?
It started with seeing, because I was doing basics. I was basically watching jump rope dudes videos just to get ideas on footwork or handwork or the other skills. And then the sidebar on YouTube, like, what's this guy, Rush Athletics? And like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, that triggered my imagination that there's a lot more that. And then from that, you just kept on clicking and discovered there are other things as well. And uh but it I didn't for me at the time, I just looked at it as these would be fun to do. Maybe I can do it someday. I didn't, I didn't really set a goal that I want to be that, but maybe that's the athlete in me, that you're not gonna be satisfied with being just okay. You wanna excel. You wanna push yourself, and that natural instinct maybe just took over and, like, no, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna unlock this, or I'm gonna get to this skill. And that's probably why you and I jive the first few times, because when you said it's that concept of completion versus efficiency, I'm not a completist. I don't want to do things just so I can say I can do it.
Yeah. You want
There's
that efficiency.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I still bug you about that.
Yeah, well, yeah. You very much, you like to do skills, but you like to do them well. And
Yes.
that makes a lot of sense. So you see Rush Athletics, you get into that boxer style, that super stylized aesthetic, which I think catches a lot of people's eyes, right? Because it's very, when you're new to jumping, it's very intriguing, right?
Yeah.
And so you just went down the rabbit hole and just like went for it and attacked that style.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Once I discovered there's a lot more, I tried to integrate that into my own style as well. I mean, there are still some skills that probably I've left off cam, but
Like what?
like no, I mean, like I can do a mic release, but I don't put it in my. I don't. People have seen me do it.
Yeah.
But I don't
usually post
put it on much. Yeah. Because I feel like I don't do it as well yet, or something like that.
So this is an interesting. Okay, let's get into this, because this idea of what you post. How do you? It sounds like when you go to post online, you just want to show like the most like skills that you're doing well and you're proficient at, or because from what I've seen, you also will show a lot of mistakes on the journey to getting something very difficult, right?
Yeah.
So how do you? Because you don't want to show the mic release, it sounds like, because it's not exactly.
It's not that. It's just that I know that a lot of people are doing it anyway, and especially here in this country, everyone's into freestyle. Mm-hmm. So I'd want to keep that sort of identity of
gotcha
being a little bit different,
being Chito.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like that's your style that you enjoy the most. So I gotcha. So you're putting out the most of what you typically do because it's the style you enjoy the most.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It sort of keeps me. I just want to not go with the flow in that sense.
There's a lot of that on social, and this is probably one of the biggest things that's changed since you started jumping, right? Back in like 2019, is there's been an explosion of recreational jumpers, and there's been an explosion of trends as well. Not all are bad trends, and most of them are perfectly fine, but there definitely is this consistency of a popular combo or a popular style of the week, of the month, right, of the quarter or whatever, and there's an interesting, I guess, desire to post a certain type of content, right, and to view it as content rather than viewing it as like connecting with other jumpers, which makes a lot of sense in a lot of regards. And so it sounds like, given that that's the case now, you're more interested in kind of doing your thing, posting your thing.
I don't know if you've seen everything, the whole gamut of what I've posted. Sometimes I'll just put a prank post, like
post.
people expecting a duet with somebody, and then nothing happens, and like
that's
just
really funny. So you're having fun with it.
Yeah, I don't plan content. I just post whatever, whenever. In terms of that, some content has been planned or something. I've done some stuff that, like the switch cross variations. I did 2 posts on that. That was planned, but that was something I really wanted to do. But some of these are just really random that I just did, something funny and I just want to share it, or something utterly dumb, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
silly and different. Well, it just sounds like you're really focused on like connecting with people, right? Yeah. It's less so about putting up the right post and more so about finding the people you jive with and then connecting with them.
Yeah, because I don't want, at least a little variety is always good here and there. And if you just keep posting, at least for myself, if it's posted something like a combo every other day, it's gonna it's gonna wear out.
Yeah,
and
man, I hate people who post a single combo every day. I'm just kidding.
No, I didn't. I didn't.
I know what you were saying. I'm just totally messing with you. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, and the words, right? The long.
Yeah. The words.
I haven't read today's yet.
Yeah, people who post really long, weird captions, who post a new combo every day and have a thumbnail that says the title of the combo. I'm just kidding. This is all sarcastic self-reference to me. No, I'm just messing with you. But that does make sense, right? Like Continue elaborating, because it sounds, I like what you're saying about the way you're approaching how you post things.
Sometimes I'll just post a photo, or of people I recently jumped with, or foolishness, or today I couldn't get something going, so it'll be it'll be a post of all these fails, and at the end of the day, it's a lesson for everyone else, a reminder that everyone's gonna trip up, and everyone's gonna not get something right away, or like what I said, doing a sort of collab and then turning it into something funny all of a sudden. I'll
Yeah.
send you the post that I was, because there's a lot of, really just keeping up the variety, that you're not going just this one path of just one style of post. You want to do some things different. You want to try something, what you also see what works, what other people like seeing, and you get a sense of how you can engage with people more.
And it sounds like another, yeah, like you're basically fitting your posts to match your jump rope style rather than changing your jump rope style to match your posts, right? And I think that's such an important piece for everyone to think about and to hear, because it's very easy now, like just with the nature of the way online and the internet is, it's very easy to think that you have to do something a certain way to post. But I like what you're talking about, because I think it's such a, this to me is like falls under the classification of like what I would term social media literacy, basically, right? Of like when you're online, if you're jumping for recreational reasons, if you are not a company, if you are not, seeking a very specific outcome that is related to financial gains or whatever, and it seems to me that your primary goal would then be to have fun, right, as a recreational user. And I think it's really important to look at online as an opportunity to connect with others and to define exactly what your goal is online, so that you can then further that instead of being kind of caught up. 'Cause I think a lot of people get fatigued being online in the social landscape. Have you ever felt fatigued at all?
Probably, but something, because sometimes when you have a lot going on, you don't exactly have the time to look through the messages, or the tags or comment or something. But and I there was a certain point, about this, but there was a certain point, maybe a few months back, where I was close to non-existent on social media because of work, and other stuff going on. But yeah, so I think that was a forced break, or not really a break, but sort of pause for
Life's
me.
going on, so social media takes the back burner.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I yeah, it's cool to hear that you stayed very stayed the course in terms of using social that way.
I still check my messages a lot. I try to respond to people as much as I can, or as much as my time allows. But
Mhm.
there's a time where I'll just want to put the phone down, get my tablet, and play a game or something like that. Just
Yeah.
just to take a break from it
Something
all.
else. Yeah, something else. Do you because you mentioned work and other things got really busy, and I'm wondering if, like, as you've been jumping, maybe this is not just jump rope, maybe this is exercise in general, but do you think
Mm.
that jump rope has played a role in other aspects of life as well? I'm thinking work, I'm thinking anything else really. Do you feel like it's improved, taken away from in any way?
It's improved in a way that I jump rope as an exercise for me is an escape from the normal the daily grind of this workaday world. But yeah, once everything got busy and I couldn't even find the time to actually jump, that's that just drove me nuts, because that's my that's that I jump rope, doing jump rope outside the house, which I just, if anyone's seen where I jump, it's actually literally outside my door, and not being able to do that, or not having the time to do that, just drove me nuts, because that was my reset. That was my temporary escape from from all that's going on in with work, and it's like your crutch was taken away from you and you can't do anything, something like
Mm.
that.
So I feel like a lot of people view jump rope as exercise, right? Which makes sense. Like until you've gotten kind of deep into the, or even just stepped into the culture of it, it seems like it's just exercise, which to most people means it's obligation. Did you ever feel like exercise was an obligation?
No, because I like doing it.
Yeah, because it
uh
was fun.
it Yeah, it's like, that whole cliche of find something that you like to do and you don't have to work for the rest of your life. Something,
Mm-hmm.
it sort of
Mm-hmm.
goes into that reference that if you really like doing jump rope and don't see it as an obligation to do it, then it's not going to feel like something tedious that you have to a tedious routine that you
It's
have to
gonna
go
become
through.
your free time, like you just said. You're gonna be mad when you can't do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That this it's just such an important point to me because it's the single. In my mind, it's probably the single. And maybe I would change my mind on this later, but seems to be the single most important lever of fitness. Right, is having fun, like you're saying,
Mm,
because
yeah.
you no longer see it as fitness. Like it to people who are kind of in the sport and get into it, it no longer feel like it feels strange to call it fitness because it's like, yeah, you're working out, but there's a lot more to it as well, and
Mhm.
and as you're saying, it kind of becomes an escape for you, which
Yeah.
I think, and what does that escape look like? Does it take a variety of shapes? Because I'm curious about like the details of what you might do, just as for someone who's listening, maybe to emulate.
Just going back to where I started or how I started, just being able to do, just a basic bounce, really. Just doing that for 30 minutes or something. That's, the amount of sweat that generates afterwards. It's just, that's it. That's at least for me, I don't have to do, you know, a, a wild combo or some kind of skill or something. I just, just get in between those ropes and just jump
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
have fun. That's really it. Simple, the simple joy of it.
I've also come back to that as well. That's not something that I've ever done in my, entire decade plus of jumping. It was never just go do singles like that. That wasn't part of competition training, like that just, it wasn't.
Mm, mm,
And that's something that I've started doing in the past year or so, COVID, is just
mm.
doing singles, putting on music, and then just going for whatever, like doing it unbroken for whatever time domain I choose. Usually somewhere around
That was
20 minutes.
that's
Yeah.
that's actually that's something that probably a lot of people don't think about nowadays, is how long you can do. The newer jumpers are sort of like focused a lot more on these spectacular skills or something. And for me, just it's finding that simple joy of going unbroken for 10, 15 minutes.
And it's
That's a
relaxing.
lot for me. That's a lot more satisfying than, yeah, to each their own. But for me, that's a lot. I think that's a lot harder and but a lot more satisfying.
Well, and the combos are also very destructive. It's hard to sustain that. It's
Yes.
hard to sustain that physically, but it's hard to sustain that mentally as well. Because
Mm,
when you're working on combos, the nature of it is that you're probably going to be grinding on most of the combos you're working on because you want to do something cooler, better,
mm,
faster, stronger, harder. And when you work on that, the nature of
yeah.
that is to get kind of beat up. And so it can be very easy to be working on something for an extended period of time, but not seeing an immediate result, right?
Yeah.
Which can get discouraging. And so, like what you're saying about taking a step back, doing things that are very simple, is this why you returned to focusing on simple things? I know for a while you were cranking out and working on leveling up skills, or it seemed that way that you were really working on pushing to the next level. But now you're focused
Yeah.
more on kind of the basics. Is this why, or is there a different reason why you kind of return back to basics?
It's finding that balance of, you can't go consecutive days or just trying something crazy. Um it's also giving my body some rest, but still getting that fix of jumping rope. So sometimes I'll just go outside and just do basics, or sometimes it again, the variety aspect of it, just so it doesn't get too monotonous or boring in that sense. And again, like what you said, I've been trying to nail certain skills that I still can't. So rather than killing myself over trying to get it within the next week, I'll take a step back and just do something else and get my mind off it for a while. Because next thing you know, I might try it and I might hit it.
Yep. Yep. Do you feel like, I mean, you've gone through so many different styles and you have a very good awareness of the journey, right? Do you feel like you've learned anything from jump rope? And if you have, I'd like to know what that is.
Yeah, there's always something to do tomorrow. If you can't, you don't have to unlock everything today or this week or this month. There's always something to look forward to. You don't have to rush into things, and it's nice if you could do it right away. But if you can't, then there's always next time. There's no dead unless you're competing and you're chasing a competition deadline, or there's no end date as to by this time I have to do this, or I should be able to do so and so. You're adding unnecessary pressure to yourself if you're doing that, and it takes the fun out of it. And that's why probably some people feel burned out, or I don't think I've known anybody who's quit, but it takes a lot off of your shoulders if you're just gonna go out there and have fun, and that's gonna keep you in the sport for at least I think that's gonna keep you in the sport longer.
And like you're saying, paying attention to what kind of goal you're after, right? The goal of a new unlock, the goal of back to basics, like you're saying. I mean, in my mind, having basics be your foundation is just like you're talking about, like we're discussing right now, is like the best, because it's always easy to go harder, right? But if you start with your goal being to go as hard as possible, there's a limited runway for that, like you're saying. And all the pressure that you're mentioning definitely plays a role as well. Man, this is so good to chop this up with you, because we've talked so much, but we've never like really sat down and like explored your specific journey. I'm curious, what's been like the hardest thing you've had to overcome?
Injury.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which injury?
You were in the middle of that.
Yeah.
It was during flow and grind where I had this nagging calf pain, and it was frustrating because I'm going online, seeing people jumping, and I'm like, I want to jump. So I think my over eagerness to get back on the saddle aggravated the injury a lot more than I probably should have. But
what were the specifics of that?
It was a calf strain. I think I did a week where I don't know how many double unders I did that 1 week, but I was teaching, and I think it was 2 or 3 teaching sessions and an all-day jump meet.
That'll do it.
Where
that will do it.
Yeah, that'll do it. I aggravated my left calf, but me being as hard-headed as I am, I'm injured in the left. I'll still show up at a jump meet and jump on the right, and that's not smart.
That's probably not gonna go well.
But I wanted to have fun, and it was fun.
Well,
it was dumb, but it was fun.
Yeah, and it's hard because it is fun, especially when you're jumping with other people. And yeah, the injuries are such a big, and I talked about this a lot with Francis on a previous podcast, but it's very challenging, not necessarily to do injury prevention, because it tends to be relatively straightforward in terms of stretching and stuff, but it can be very hard. Like even for myself, like when I show up to, it's been a while obviously, but in the past when I've gone to like a workshop or a meetup or met, jump with people, it's really hard to take the full amount of time to do mobility and to stretch and to get ready because you just want to get into it, and it's, the actual steps, what they are, not necessarily challenging, but sometimes it is mentally a challenge to actually do all of those things. And then at some point you get forced to, like in your case with an injury, you don't really have much of a choice. Yeah,
that's why during jump meets I try to show up early so I can warm up and stretch it before I get hyped and seeing everyone there. At
That's
least
fair.
get that part, out of the way before everyone else shows up.
Yeah. I feel like, and that's so important, I think, for someone who's new, uh, to understand as well, is the importance of injury prevention and like doing that. We've talked about a lot of different things. I'm sure all of them would relate to this question, but is there anything that sticks out, 1 to 3 things that you think are the most important for somebody who's a beginner to know, or in tandem with that question, either someone who's a beginner to know, or something that you really wish you could have told yourself, your own self as a beginner?
No, because as a beginner, I went slow. But
Mm-hmm.
for beginners nowadays are trying to, at least from what I'm seeing, is they're trying to cram a lot. Going back to that earlier discussion about putting unnecessary pressure on yourself. Just have fun with it. Take your time. It's not unless you're competing or you want to get to some competition or something like that. It doesn't make sense to put all this pressure on yourself that you need to unlock so and so by next week, or I need to do this now. You still have to make it fun for yourself and enjoyable, and just don't rush into it. It is probably the message that because I didn't rush. Maybe fortunately or unfortunately, I
Well, I mean, it seems like you've accelerated very quickly, though. Like, obviously, like you're saying, did singles for a very long time, but then after you moved into the more freestyle focused section of your jumping, it seemed like you really accelerated fast, and you were really learning a lot of stuff. Not necessarily because you were, I'm sure you were working very hard, but it doesn't sound like your intention was to level up extremely fast. It just was that you were so into it that it kind of was a byproduct of your interest, But what you're saying
yeah,
is,
yeah.
I know this from looking from the outside looking in, watching the jumpers in the Philippines and in Malaysia. You guys go so hard. Like, the skills that I'm seeing, I'm like, whoa, it's a very powerful, difficult skill, and it seems like everyone is like chasing that TJ now, which is a great goal to have, but it's also not, like you're saying, it's not like the only goal. It's not like the only measure of success as a jumper, As a
Mhm.
competitive jumper, it's different because the TJ is a very foundational competitive skill to learn. And it's very great to see a lot of recreational jumpers going after that. But I think what you're saying is very applicable and very useful. Like, you can go a lot slower. You don't have to learn things as quickly and get hurt.
And rest, because I'm seeing,
And rest. Yeah.
there's this local Facebook group that people are saying, my shins are hurting. I've only been jumping for a month.
Oh
And,
man, shin splints.
slow down.
Slow down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt shin splints yourself?
No, because prior to jumping, my legs. I've been running. I think of my entire body. My legs are the strongest part of. The
Yeah.
leg muscles are the strongest group. So when I started jumping, I didn't really
Have an issue
feel,
there. Yeah.
strained.
You were one of the fortunate ones. You had the pre-existing history, and you were able to sidestep that.
Yeah. So I like how to prevent shin splint. I've been asked that several times, and I'm like, I don't even know how those feel like.
It was never my
I'm
problem,
sorry.
so I don't know.
Yeah.
That's really funny. What was there ever a moment where you were working on a skill and it was frustrating you, and it ultimately ended up clicking? Is there anything that pops into mind, that a skill that really frustrated you?
Switch cross. Basic switch cross.
Switch cross. Chito and the switch cross.
Took me, I think, 2 weeks to get one.
To get one. And okay, you say 2 weeks, but what did that training look like? How were you doing your jumping?
After my workout, I set maybe about 30 minutes trying to unlock it. It depends on how much usually if I can't get something in, like if I didn't get it in maybe 20 or 30 minutes, I'm gonna say, yeah, try it again tomorrow. I'm not gonna bash my head against the wall trying to do it today, because it was frustrating, because okay, this is tomorrow and I'm doing it again. I'm like, I'm doing some adjustments, and Still can't do it. And then finally, I'm like, what the hell?
It's funny to hear you describe this, because I mean everyone experiences this frustration, but you're such a patient jumper. If there's one theme of this episode so far, it's that you are such a patient jumper. And so the idea of you banging your head against the wall on one skill is it sounds like you were very driven to get that skill, and you ultimately did. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I think when looking back, it's either a toss up between the double undercross and that, which which is a skill that frustrated me the most. But with the amount of time that it took me to get one switch cross, I think that's an easy win.
And what was it? When did it click, and what helped you kind of finally lock it down?
I'm a visual kind of learner, so I just watch people do it. I try to emulate, but not really put a lot of thought in just looking at how they moved rather than trying to understand what goes into the movement. What I found was I was jerking the switch. I was punching it in rather than when somebody told me to slow down on the switch. I was like, at first it didn't make sense, but like, oh, okay. But yeah, that was 2 weeks of not asking anyone, and
And you ultimately got it.
I ultimately got it. I could have saved myself some time if I.
Yeah, it sounds like the value of learning from others or seeing other skills has been consistent as well for you.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
feel that way?
I keep saying this to people that no one knows everything.
Mhm.
There are people are actually surprised that I still talk to people and ask about skills or improving myself. Like I still talk to you or or Chris or whoever. It's not the moment that you tell yourself that you're already good and that you don't have to ask anyone is probably the end of your learning in terms of jump rope, because there's
Yeah, and that's when you plateau.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's such an important, especially now when we see a lot of tutorials going out all the time, and it's two sides of the same coin, right? Like it's phenomenal that everybody wants to spread knowledge as soon as they learn, because that's so foundational to the culture of jump rope at large, and especially of the sport of jump rope as well. That's been the foundation of everything. As soon as you learn, you pass on the knowledge to somebody
Yeah.
else to help them learn. The flip side of that, though, is that when you create knowledge, or you spread knowledge, you don't create knowledge. When you spread knowledge and you put out your opinions, um, sometimes it can feel kind of easy to be like, oh, well, I got this locked down, and the truth is, like you're saying, like you never have it fully locked down, right? You can be coaching for a very, very long time, and there will always still be something new, and that's kind of part of the discipline of coaching or teaching. Curious, I mean, I don't think this question may not apply,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Do you feel like jump rope has increased your self-esteem at all?
I was looking at that question, and
And we can swap this out as well, because I know you mentioned there were a couple of down points. Maybe we can swap this for not necessarily self-esteem, but do you feel like it has helped you in moments of your life where you have felt very down or have felt very suboptimal?
I'm gonna answer this in a couple of different ways. So
Mhm.
I think first of all, in terms of self-esteem, maybe physically, yes. Because as a photographer, if you come to a shoot shy, people aren't gonna take you seriously. So
That's very true.
there has to be some air of confidence, not arrogant, but some air of confidence with you that you know what you're doing as a professional. That's how you gain your clients' trust and respect as well. That you show them that you know what you're doing. So in terms of jump rope helping my self-esteem, maybe physically, yes. Because again, there was a point in my life where I used to be fat. And jump rope has helped me keep that off. The other side of it is sorry, can you go back to the question again?
Yeah, I was wondering if if it has ever played a role for you in terms of assisting when you've been in a very down moment or a down period of your life, because ultimately everybody kind of ends up there. But before we move to that, I do kind of want to just pause for a second on that increase in self-esteem from being overweight to then losing the weight and then keeping it off. How did that feel for you? Was that this is fine, I've been fit before, I know I can get back? Was this, wow, I feel completely different about myself now? Or is it somewhere in between? I'm curious, like what that really felt like for you.
I think the sort of milestone during that point was me not having to kneel again when I need to tie my shoelaces. I think that was I was walking, I had my shoelaces untied. I just bent over and didn't have to kneel. And I'm like, I haven't done that in a while. And that was
that's
no real.
But that's so real though. Like that's so real.
Yeah. It is. It just hit me like, hey, I sort of flexible again. I can reach my toes without having to kneel.
You obviously had a history in sports and athletics, but for somebody, because I know that you talk with a lot of people, you work with a lot of people, for somebody who has not had a history in sports, do you still think that they can get a lot out of jump rope and still have these types of results as well?
Yep. Anyone can, as long as they have, just going back to the fun aspect of it, as long as they're having fun with it, I think the sky's the limit really on what their imagination will allow them. But as long as you have fun, you're just going to keep going and going and going.
Yeah. And to not have any hesitation about trying things either.
Yes.
Yeah. So now that we've done that little pause, I know I'm very non-linear.
Yeah,
it's just the way my brain works. But back to the question of, do you feel like jump rope has ever kind of been there or helped assist in a time of your life when there's been a bit of a down point?
It has, especially, so yeah, I got busy with work where I was working extended hours, 5 days a week, and I just look forward to the weekend where I could just jump, just to forget things the past 5 days and just go out there and have fun. Yeah, that's helped a lot in terms of I think though the stress wasn't, the amount of jumping wasn't commensurate to the amount of stress.
Yep.
but it still, it still provided me some sort of sanity that I can just forget everything first and just jump and be with my jump friends. And
let's touch on the photography for a second, because you and I have taught. Yeah, I was waiting. I was going to ask you about that, but this is now the appropriate time because you mentioned it. What type of photography have you done, and how have you done photography professionally?
All right. So I've done, I started out my photography as a hobby, shooting sports. I think that's probably where, a good number of people start. But that evolved into me doing event photography, portraits, fashion, and lifestyle shoots. For the last 10 years, I've been a professional event photographer, doing mostly weddings.
Yeah, those are tough.
those are a grind.
Yeah. And a lot of times that grind comes after the event too, not necessarily. I mean, during it is physically very active, but then afterwards you got a lot of stuff to sift through. That's cool.
That's true. That's true.
With the fashion, have you shot like was like advertisement stuff and like fashion and magazine or publications?
I've done a couple of campaigns for a few brands, but it's mostly designer collections that for their lookbook or for their shows or something like that. It's mostly that aspect, and I wanted to get a lot more into that, but COVID happened.
Yeah. What do you shoot with? I know we were just talking about this, but I want to.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I shoot with an Nikon Z6.
Yes, I love geeking out on the cameras and stuff. I feel like when you're, as someone who's into photography, you obviously notice a lot of very specific details. That's just kind of the nature of being a photographer.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's kind of like played a role at jump rope as well, like at all? Because I feel like you do tune into a lot of details.
Maybe innately it has, because you notice things like when you're shooting a frame, you look at everything before you even click. Like the background, is it, there's a loose leaf there or something that it's not gonna, to the plain eye, it's not gonna bother them, but to you as the one taking the frame, you just want it out.
How do you usually approach color, and like what kind of palettes do you usually stick? Do you just kind of roll with whatever the client's looking for? Do you have stuff that you prefer?
I still go with a colored look, but sometimes monochrome. It depends on how the image feels. That if the image is going to tell a better story on black and white, then you go with that. But you I'm a feel when I do some post processing, especially adding color tones, it depends on how the image feels to me as the artist.
Yeah, if only. And then with photography, if only you could splurge on new photography devices and accessories like you could with new jump ropes, right? But
Oh,
not
don't get me
nearly.
started.
If only, if only.
If only. You know what? I gotta tell the story. So
Yeah.
I was shooting with a Z6 for quite a while. I think I started in January 2019 when I got my Z6, and because I wanted to future proof myself in terms of getting at least the latest gear right away, so it'll last me maybe a good 4 to 5. And I loved it so much that I decided to get a new body, a second Z6.
There we go.
Guess when? Guess when?
right after you got the first one.
No. March 8th, 2020.
Yes. Perfect
And then
timing.
perfect timing. Like
Yep.
the world goes on lockdown the next week, and I'm like,
It's
how am I gonna make this? How the hell am I gonna make
it's
this
the
back?
classic rationalizations like, well, I have to buy a new camera body that's really expensive because it's new and it's future proofing, and it's okay because I'm gonna work back all the money that I spent on it. And then
Which I did in like 3 or 4 months with the first one.
yeah. And then you buy that second one and you're like, no.
Yeah, and like it came with new lenses, and I'm like, COVID. I'm like, ow.
Yep. That is a fun way to shake things up. That's cool. So do you shoot a lot at meetups and stuff? Or do you mostly just focus on jumping?
At the end of the day, I'm gonna try to jump, but people know this, that if I start my hands with my camera, I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah. You and I kind of share that. I think you posted somewhat recently about someone took a photo of you and you said it's very uncommon for you to be the one in front of the camera. Usually you're behind it. And I I totally feel like, because I've met up every time I meet up with jumpers, especially like a few years ago when I would meet up with like Mike and Eddie a lot, or we had a couple jumpers from France come in to LA and stuff. And every time I would go, I would be holding a camera and shooting, but I would never be in the one being filmed because I'm usually the one who's shooting. And I feel like you are very, very similar that way.
So you and I have to meet just for that.
Yeah, you can take video of me.
You can leave your camera with me with confidence, and I can leave my camera with you with confidence.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, it's the things that photographers go through.
Oh, tell me about it. Don't even get me started.
Yeah, oh man, we're like an hour plus deep already, and this has been really fun. Actually sitting down and like chopping this up with you and going through everything. And there are a couple more questions that I do want to get into if you have the time.
Go ahead.
Let's keep jamming. We're going to work towards wrapping up, but I'm sure we're going to go off on a couple more tangents. So
totally fine.
I'm really curious if the younger version of yourself, younger being when you first started jumping, or even before that, right? As a sprinter in high school, or whatever point you want to pick. If that version of you could see you now, what do you think that they would say?
They would probably try it.
Yeah.
It would trigger that imagination that, I can do that.
Yeah.
I think I can do that.
Do you feel like you've always had that like when you see something, you're like, I can try that and be successful at it as well?
Yes. I have that mentality that if I think I can do it, I'll at least try. Right. And not everything clicks for you. I mean, you're going to feel it. Some of the things you try with, there's no harm in giving it a go rather than regretting not trying it at all.
Do you feel like that came from sports, or was that just kind of in your blood from the get?
I don't know, really.
Mhm.
Maybe,
Mix of both.
mix of both, probably, because if you're an athlete, you always want to be
Better.
you want to push yourself. You want to get better. But it in terms of, because I tried a lot of sports just to find the one I liked, and I like football and soccer, and in this basketball loving country, I was against the flow in that sense, and then I discovered, and then I became a sprinter, and that's also sort of considered a minority sport here, or not, something. Yeah, but to still, maybe it's that I've always had that mindset of not wanting to just go with the flow and just be my own person, probably,
It
and
makes
not
sense that
care.
you would find, yeah, it makes sense you would find jump rope with that, because jump rope is unending possibilities to do exactly what you just described.
Yeah.
And the idea of, making mistakes or getting whipped and getting back up is so huge. And it's, from my perspective and the way, like, I see things, I feel like that mentality, like you're saying, like, you always want to get better, you want to do more, you want to improve. I feel like a lot of that for me did come from jump rope, because when you are showing up to practice and you are literally being smacked and like over and over and over and over, and you're just failing, you kind of, don't really have much of a choice unless you leave the sport, which obviously most people, like, you get into it, you don't. And so you learn a lot of that mentality, like, you can improve, you can keep going. It just takes work.
You don't expect something to magically just click just because you saw it and you try it, and sometimes you get lucky, but you don't want to go with just luck. You want to
methodical
you want
approach.
you want to make sure it's repeatable,
Yeah.
and consistent.
Well, yeah, on that idea of methodical approach and improvement, where do you think you're going with jumper? What do you hope to accomplish in the future?
Um, Really, again, like I said earlier, I'm just having fun with it and not
Mhm.
really, at least for my personal goals. There are still some skills that I want to do, that, but
Yes,
I'll hopefully
triple switch cross.
I'll switch cross.
But Chito is the patient Zen master who is willing to wait years until he gets it.
And make sure that I hit it and do it again.
Perfectly.
Not just
Perfectly.
once. Yes.
If your hands are slightly out of place, do it again. Efficiency. No, that's funny. But so you're saying your goal moving forward really is just to continue and to keep having fun.
Yeah, and with working with the PJRA, you got to look at the bigger picture of, it's not just for yourself, but you want a lot of, in seeing how much jump rope has given me. You want to share that with a lot of people as well, given in terms of, um you know especially the health benefits, the friendships I've gained, and the you
Yeah.
of not
Yes.
just it, because the friendships aren't just locally. They're, I've met people overseas, virtually met, at least. And yeah, it's this community will give a lot to those who ask for it.
Mhm. And to
And
connect.
yeah, if you're willing to connect and ask, and um get out there and just share the passion, it's gonna give back to you tenfold.
Hmm. I think on that note, we'll move towards the last question here, and it's the one that I always ask on every episode. That is, what is jump rope to you?
If it's going to be a single word, I was going with either fun or passion, but I can't separate the two, because I found it fun. That's why I got so passionate about it, and that's why I'm still here, doing this, interacting with the community, being part of it, um keeping at it, because at the end of the day, as long as I'm still having fun, I'm still going to keep doing it. And if I really keep doing something I really like, you know I get passionate about it. I go layers and layers deeper into into whatever aspect of that thing that interests me. Again, I started as an individual jumper, and now, we're working with the PJRA, um, and trying to get it more widespread, because it's again, it's sharing that passion that you have for the sport, and you want a lot more people involved in it, because you want the community to grow, and you want you want to see other people picking it up as well, and enjoying the activity or the exercise or the sport, or whatever, regardless of how they want to take jump rope as for themselves, as long as they do it and have fun.
Doesn't matter how you do it, just matters that you're here doing it.
Yeah.
That's one of the best things about jump rope, in my opinion, is like, and I think that this may sometimes get misunderstood from people just watching the stuff that I post and everything. But to me, it's like, with, and this from taking Flow and Grind, that with those efficient principles, then it's not about only doing jump rope a certain way, only doing competitive style skills. But once you have that efficient baseline, you can then do whatever you want, right? And like, that's the fun of jump rope, is that there's like unending amount of ways you can jump, as we've talked about.
Last week, after you guys dropped, I think it was just me, Ira, and Chris, who was left on the Zoom call.
Yeah.
And we did the math on, just a couple of skills, doing it on both ways, and then adding foot.
It's infinite. It's infinite.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And we did a Zoom call with the PJRA group, and we were just kind of hanging out for a little bit. And it makes sense that if you were hanging out with Chris afterwards, we share a lot of things, but Chris is definitely, we're both detailed and numbers focused, but he is way numbers focused. And but it's an interesting concept, because if you, I'll probably get close to what he suggested, and that is, if you start to take combos and break them apart, right? And let's take just a 5 skill combo. Let's go to 3 skill combo, right? Cross, swing, cross. Okay. Well, you can switch out, if you think of them as individual variables, you can switch out the first cross with something else, right? And you can switch out the swing, or you can switch out the other cross. Now, there are rules about which skills you can and cannot do back to back. We won't get into all that detail right now, because that would literally be like a 10-hour podcast. But but if you're interested, you can, in the show notes, links in the show notes, I'll have the jump bet and the Trictionary from Lee Reisig, because he does outline them there, so that there is information there. But anyway, the point is, while there are some rules, even with a 3 skill combo, the amount of skills that you can swap in and out, if you think of like a slot machine where there's like a roller, right? If you have 3 of those, that roller is not like 5 or 6 options. It's like, at least hundreds. So you've got hundreds, but then you've got 3 different slots open. And the rules keep changing depending on which skill you put in, which means when you do the math on that, even if there was only 100 skill options, which there's definitely more, but even if there was only 100, right? 100 times the next one that you have 100 options times the next one that you have 100 options, that's a lot of skills.
That's a lot of skills.
And you look at the standard combo length that most people are doing, and it typically is significantly longer than 3 skills, right? It's typically at least 5, but definitely can go up to like 15 or greater. And so when you start to do, like you're saying, when you do the math on that, the more skills you learn, the larger the sport grows, and the larger your opportunities for doing more with it grows. And it does require work, because to do that, it means if you're really used to doing like leg crosses, like toads and leg overs, but you never learn a TS, that will to some degree lessen that, but not nearly enough to not have
not nearly enough to
but it is also fun, because if you do, like, back to this creative piece that you're talking about, if you do focus on only a certain group of skills, and we can just take crosses that happen in front of your body, right? And you can do a lot with that, assuming that you have you have a bunch of different skills you can do along with that. There's a lot you can do, but then in the future, if you do decide, I'm going to learn a TS, a cross behind my back. Well, now you've just opened up a huge amount more for you to try and to test out. And like you're saying, it's not static, it's not fixed, and there's no time pressure. Especially, obviously if you're a competitor, there are competitions, but if you're not a competitor, which I would guess the large majority of people jumping at this point are not competitors, then you've got all the time in the world to keep testing, trying things out, and then adding new skills to your repertoire.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, Chito, this has been really a phenomenal podcast. We have talked for about an hour and a half, minus a few blips in the technology. Yeah. Anything else that you want to bring up before we close out here? And if there's nothing, you don't have to.
No, I just really, appreciate you asking me to come on. It's still mind blown that I'm doing this right now. I feel honored that you asked me. You saw, if you look at the timestamp, it's like within a minute. Like you asked me if you want to guest on the podcast. Oh my God, yes.
Sent you a message on Discord, and I was like, "Hey, I'm in the podcast," and you're like, "Yep." Pretty quick.
Yes, all caps.
Yeah, no, but I'm glad that this is what it's about, right? Is like legitimately connecting with people, and you put in the work. You're a big influence to a lot of jumpers, and we've had a lot of fun talking before, so I knew it would be a great conversation as it was. I'll definitely let you get back to things that you're doing. It's been good catching up again, chit-chatting a bit, spending more time to hear about your story and your jump rope journey, and definitely will be catching up with you again soon.
All right, thanks for having me, Coach.
Hey, it's Nate again. Thanks for taking the time to listen to that episode. I'm so glad I got to talk to Chito and that he shared all that super useful information with you. If you did like this episode and you know someone who might also enjoy it, like a new jumper or someone who's considering learning to jump rope, it'd be really cool if you could send this episode to them. If you're sad the episode is over and you want even more jump rope stuff, check out natekg.com/new. That's NEW. I've got all my most recent YouTube tutorials, combos, a link to sign up for my weekly email newsletter, new podcast, etc., all that stuff. All the new things I'm doing are there, so definitely check it out if you want more. Okay, that's it for now. Have a great rest of your day, night, lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever time it is for you right now. All right, I'll see you on the next episode.